Nothing is impossible. Success is never ending. Failure is never final. Nothing is impossible. Come on, Dr. Skiller. You are an educated man. How can you say that nothing is impossible? Have you set aside the critical part of your brain? It's been widely reported that I have cut that word impossible out of my dictionary. That's true. I have for more than one reason. To begin with, it is more often than not used flippantly, fluously, frivolously, foolishly, and fruitlessly. No, I have not set aside the critical faculties of my brain. It is precisely because I have sharpened and honed these critical faculties that I have declared the word impossible out of my bounds. The fact that we don't know how something can be done does not mean that we are smart or right to say it's impossible. The fact that experts in the field say it's impossible doesn't mean they are right. I must warn you against the most dangerous and destructive force of the earth, the negative thinking expert. Because he's an expert, you will be tempted to listen uncritically, trust him, and quit. Struck by the authoritative position he holds, you will tend to believe him without question. Too often we hear through our peers, not through our ears. Herbert Bayer, a 78-year-old artist, architecture designer, and author, gives us the appointment look at what would happen to the art of negative thinking expert were to have his way. Here, the Herbert favorite pigment, as described by John Griffiths, Los Angeles Times architecture and design critic. An efficiency expert once took a step toward his ulcer by attending a performance of Schuster's Unfinished Symphony. All 12 violins were playing identical notes. He complained, that seems to be unnecessary duplication. The staff of this section should be drastically cut. Furthermore, the expert previously noted the wind sections, 4 oboes, often were silent. His solution fire some of the oboes and spread their work over the whole orchestra. With ingenuity surpassing reason, the efficiency man. Then after the playing numerous 32-second notes seems an excessive refinement, and they should be rounded to the nearest 16 notes, so skilled work would be handled by trainees in lower grade orchestra. Warming to his subject, he decided that no useful purpose is served by repeating with horns the passages that have already been handled with strings, and all such redundant passages were eliminated. The concert would be reduced from 2 hours to 20 minutes. Finally, the following fellow wrapped his recommendations to the grand justification. If Skipper had attended to these matters, he would probably have been able to finish the symphony. A negative thinking expert is someone who is so well informed, trained, and experienced on the subject that if it has never been successfully done before, he will know it and will not hesitate a moment to tell you. He will then, with the authoritative tutor of a brilliant intellectual snob, enumerate all the real or imaginary reasons why an idea never succeeded, convincing first himself, then you, and that all of his words are proof positive that the whole notion is unrealistic, beyond credibility, ridiculous, unthinkable, and impossible. Thus, he blocks progress, obstructs development, strives creativity, halts advanced thinking, and delays for months, years, or decades the big breakthroughs. A possibility thinking expert is a person who, when faced with a new concept or knowing that it was never been successfully implemented, is charged with excitement of what he does as a great opportunity to become a pace-setting pioneer. He is stimulated by the opportunity to discover new solutions to old problems using the knowledge of the new age to make a historic breakthrough, because he is convinced that there must be a way to overcome seemingly insurmountable difficulties. His creative powers are stimulated to produce amazing results. Using advanced research technique, he proves that some long-accepted causes of past failure were in fact errors of judgment made by intelligent researchers who lacked the tools and skills and related knowledge available in the modern age. So failure is never final. And just because some negative thinking experts say I can't imagine, it just doesn't mean that someone somewhere some time cannot and will not be able to imagine the unimaginable and amazingly accomplished. I judge that too often progress has been halted, obstructed, and delayed by a person who used that word impossible. Transplant a heart, human heart, impossible. Put a man to the moon, come on now, impossible. Build an all-glass cathedral longer than the football field and make it earthquake proof in California that's impossible. No, I haven't placed the intellectual rational half of my brain in reversal or neutral. I simply have lived my life in the 20th century and have seen scientific impossibilities die like caterpillars only to be born again as possibility butterflies. You may tell me, as of today, there is no known way there could be accomplished. I'll buy that. That's an intelligent statement, but don't say it's impossible. You may tell me that some new idea is completely unbelievable, absurd ludicrous, like doubting Thomas. You won't believe until you have put your finger in the wound of the Christ's hand. Okay, I can understand how you could react that way. But please don't paint yourself into a corner where you may have to eat crow someday. Whatever you do, don't use that word impossible. Be honest with me. Tell me if you just don't like the idea. It's not your style. Level with me. And with yourself is your clouding your judgment ego. Clouding your judgments? Maybe there's a cross-cultural conflict going on. Go to the real reasons, but don't use that unintelligent word impossible. You may prove to me that the idea would not be cost-effective. It would definitely not be profitable, but please tell me how, when, and where, and how it might possibly become a break-even venture, and don't try to second-guess me. Maybe we'd want to do it even if it costs us money, so don't use that word impossible. You may bring me this report. It's been tried and it has failed. If I'll want to know when, where, by whom, and how, then I'll want to review that work, but don't insult my intelligence by trying. That's impossible. You may tell me that the laws as they stand today do not allow this. That's all right. That's smart. I appreciate this, but laws can be changed, so don't tell me it's impossible. In your mind, the idea is immoral or unethical, then that's different story altogether. Then you can agree. Let's use the word unacceptable, but we won't use that word. Is still be an incorrect word, impossible. I was on my third visit to Peking, China. On earlier trips, I had fallen in love with one of the greatest art treasures in all China, the famous bronze horse of the Han Dynasty. It has been reproduced in small 6 inches and 12 inches size but houses. I have my heart set on having one that was 4 feet long. It would stand in our choice retreat center in Hawaii. It would, more than any other art piece I could imagine, symbolize the free spirit. All my efforts to find and purchase such a large piece ran into negative stone walls as solid and immovable as the Great Wall. Finally, I went to the top. The National Arts and Craft Department that controlled the original, I was immediately given a one-word answer. You guessed it. They have learned that word in China too, which is shocking when you see the impossible things they have done in history, art, architecture, engineered. Well, one came the word. Out came the word, Dr. Skiller, what you ask is impossible. Now let me explain what was going on in this authority's mind. Their request was unusual and would require special committee approval. That would be difficult and it would be frustrating, and besides, he didn't want to hassle. If celebrities were sought and acquired, it would probably take a year to hire a special artist who alone could be entrusted to make such an official copy. Surely this American would not want that long. Wait that long? It could cost thousands of dollars, and this official is thinking that's more than I make in 10 years. This American would never spend that much money. So he uttered the word impossible. When I told him I had the ready donor who would pay a very high price, I impressed him. I began to see how slow but certain the change in attitude. Well, it would take maybe 2 years. That's okay. Now, 2 years later, I have it. It stands a symbol in the free spirit and inspires pastors and believers who come for renewal. It is possible after all. Down with the word impossible. Remember, the subconscious lacks critical intellectual capacities. It tends to believe anything fed into it, like a computer. When uttered aloud, the word impossible is devastating in its effect on the subconscious. That thinking stops, progress halts, doors slam shut, research comes to a screeching halt. Further experimentation is torpedoed. Projects abandoned, dreams are discarded, the brightest and the best of the creative brain cells nose dive, clean up, hide out, cool down, and turn off in some dark but safe subterranean corner of the mind. By means of this defensive maneuver, the brain shelters itself against the painful sting of insulting disappointments, brutal, embarrassing rejections, and dashed hopes. Now, let someone utter the magic words. It might be possible. I don't know how or when, but it might be possible. By stirring those words, with a siren appeal of the Michelin trumpet, penetrate into the subconscious tributes of the mind, challenging and calling those proud powers to turn on the turn out. Buried dreams are resurrected sparks of fresh enthusiasm, pleasure, then burst into new flame. Table motions are brought back to the flow, dusty files are reopened, lights go on again in the long darkened laboratories. Telephones start ringing, computers light up, new buildings are revised and adopted, help wanted, scientists hung in factories retooled and reopened. Now products appear, now markets open, the recession ends, a great new era of adventure, experimentation, expansion, and prosperity is born. You say, but Dr. Skiller, you're quibbing about words, and I answer emphatically, not so. I'm not quibbing. I'm waging war on dangerous, irresponsible, destructive forces that are released by seemingly intelligent and innocent remarks. The real issue is attitude. Let someone get on with the judgment that something is impossible. And a negative attitude towards progress, upward development, and the creative breakthroughs all will emerge. No. Let's scratch the word out of our vocabulary. A cruel and insensitive critic once challenged me on my crusade to spread the idea that nothing is impossible. He was a cynic, one of the worst. He heard about my daughter's accident after which his left leg was amputated through the knee. Anything is possible. Come on, Squirrel, you can't grow a new leg. That's impossible. Please, I said softly. Don't use that word. You may live to see the day when a brain dead person, heart, liver, eyes. Yes, even legs are transplanted. Impossible, you bet it's not in a dictionary. That's because impossible is a dangerous word. Impossible, the word has the destructive word of an emotional molecular bomb. Impossible, the word is a knife thrust at the heart of creativity. Impossible, the word is a roadblock to progress. Let's unmask the word. We need to label these impossibilities correctly. They may be more honestly called prejudices, challenges, problems to be solved, blind spots, fatigue, ignorance, fear, excessive excuses, ego problems, laziness. Call these impossibilities by the right name. Fears, they are taking over leadership in our thought processes. They are stubborn mental fences built by ignorance, apathy, and intolerance. They strip the mask from these it's impossible, and what you find? A partial perception which produces illusion, which in turn produces confusion. So let's expose these possibilities for what they really are. Check, double check, recheck your list of impossibilities before you begin giving to them. It's not impossible. I have just to revise my plan, rearrange my priorities, remodel my blueprint, redesign my strategy, relocate my power center, recheck my traditional answers, get out of my run. It's not impossible. I just don't know how to do it. I don't know how anyone who does. I simply need to connect with smarter people. I must find someone who can invent new instruments or develop new procedures. It's not impossible. I just have to solve some problems. I have to make some tough decisions. I need to set new goals. I may need to ask hostile persons for help. Am I prepared to turn my competitors into partners and my enemies into friends? It's not impossible. I just need more time. I will take longer than I planned. I may have to cancel appointments to make more time. I'll have to streamline, remodel, and revise my calendar, or have other people help out when I can't find the time. It's not impossible. I just need to raise more money, cut costs, eliminate waste, and set aside pet projects to release fresh financial resources. All I need are creative ideas, and money will flow to imaginative and resourceful efforts. It's not impossible. I just have to think bigger. That will release a new burst of enthusiasm and energy. I must release my imagination from self-imposed, limited, too small thinking. It's not impossible. I just have to work harder. I must be willing to pay a higher price. I must increase my bed. I have to focus on whittling away what's restricting me. I can't take it easy or be careful and succeed. It's not impossible. I just need more faith in myself, more self-confidence. I have to learn to manage my thinking. Stop putting myself down, discard firmly fixed, locked in negative distortions and preconceptions like I'm too old, I'm not intelligent enough, I have to get the habit of thinking I can. It's not impossible. I just have to take charge, dare to begin, decide to get started, wrestle leadership, form forces and faces that don't have my interest at their first concern. It's not impossible. I just need a positive mental attitude. I have been reacting negatively. I will choose to believe that somehow, some way, sometime it might be possible. It's not impossible. I just need more faith. I must learn to believe in tomorrow. I shall extricate my thinking from the expressive, repressive influence of the past memories of failure and rejection. It's not impossible. I just must never quit. All I need is patience that will never run dry. Soon, traditional methods of now ineffective will be replaced by new technological advances, and I will be rewarded for my never believe in never attitude. I'll hold on tomorrow's replacing yesterday. It's not impossible. I just need to tap into a higher power. There are sources of creative ideas I have yet to connect with. There are undiscovered forces waiting for me to discover and harness. So it's not impossible. It just can't do it alone. I need God's power. It's not impossible. I'll have faith. Great things happen when man and God confront a mountain. I just have to live to and let God. Impossibilities vanish when a man and God has God confront a mountain. It's not impossible. I just have to stop being so stubborn. I have to compromise on my silent stipulations, my unspoken demands, my unyielding set of givens. I have to have the wisdom to change my mind and have the courage to declare it. I simply need to practice humility and the doors will swing open. God will move in. Mountains will move. I will be blessed. Once I have realized that it's not impossible, then you will be free to see the solutions. Then you will believe that there is a miracle around every corner. You can recognize that a bend in the road is not the end of the road. Look around the corner. Keep going. Don't give up. It might be possible if I can just learn how to do it. What appeared impossible yesterday might be possible today, and what appears impossible that might be possible tomorrow. That's because every day new techniques are learned, new breakthroughs in technology are discovered. Sadly, such a breakthrough in medicine came too late for the father of my friend of mine, Dr. Raymond Beckering. He was the minister who installed me in the ministry 37 years ago, and he was a pastor who asked me to come from Chicago to California and begin a new church. Dr. Beckering told me that his father died of diabetes just 1 month before insulin was discovered. Had his father lived just longer days, he probably would have added another 20, 30 or maybe 40 years to his lifetime. I was reminded of how quickly change can occur when I spoke one day to John Temple, a well-known investment counselor who was president of the trustees of Christian Theology Seminary. Bob, do you realize how much change you and I have seen just in our lifetime? In 1912, Americans had no income tax, no Federal Reserve, no investment counselors, no mutual funds, no vitamin tablets, no refrigerators, no radios, no transcontinental telephones, no traffic lights, no plastics, no man-made fibers, and no fluorescent lights. Much later, after the 1929 boom, Americans still had no social security, no unemployment, no airmen, no allies, no Xerox, no air conditioner, no antibiotics, no frozen foods, no television, no transistor, no lasers, and no nuclear energy. Who could have imagined back then the variety of the new blessings in my lifetime? And who can imagine now that the even greater new blessings in store for our children and our grandchildren? We live in a world in a time of spiral progress. We are better educated, better fed, and better housed than at any other time in the history of the world. Just look at how far we have come. In 1912, Emil Vaughan produced an effective immunization against diphtheria and tetanus. 21, Charles Best isolated the hormone insulin. In 1928, discovered penicillin. In 29, the first Falogrov in 38, a vaccine for yellow fever. 1946, H. Muller received Nobel Prize for Medicine for his research on X-ray-induced mutations. 1951, heart-lung machine. The following seed Selman Waksman discovered stereomycin. In 1954, the first effective polio vaccine. In 1967, the first successful heart transplant in South Africa. In 1982, the first permanent artificial heart in Barney Clark, Suffolk City. In 1983, laser surgery became the method of choice for eye operations and removal of spinal and brain tumors. Wow, more than half of the scientists who ever lived are alive today. More than half of the discoveries in the natural sciences have been made in this century. Discovery and invention have not stopped or even slowed down. Who can imagine what will be discovered in research continues to accelerate? Each discovery reveals new mysteries. The more we learn, the more we realize how ignorant we were in the past and how much more there is still to discover. John continued, you probably are not fully aware of your own thoughts. Your net worth may actually have increased. Your sphere of influence enlarged. Your network of friends may have actually grown. Things are possible or within the range of possibility to you today that you have been quite unthinkable long ago. When I think of how far we have come and how far we still have to go, I believe that anything is possible. In time, we will learn the answers. In time, we will discover the breakthroughs. In time, we will see the impossible turn into the possible. Wow. It might be possible if I can solve some problems. Wow. Amazing. It might be possible if I can solve some problems. The most impossible task you can ever imagine is never totally impossible if you can just learn to solve some of the problems that are standing in your way. I recently traveled by ship through Panama Canal. I was looking forward to the experience, for I have always looked upon the canal as one of the world's great accomplishments. The French tried for 19 years to build it. They lost millions of dollars and hundreds of lives in the process. Eventually, they gave up to the endeavor altogether. Then the Americans gave it a try. They decided that the solution was to create locks that would raise and lower the water level to our ship pass. To let the ships pass, the accomplishment was incredible. It was a moving experience to ride a ship through the masterfully constructed canal. Look at your impossibility as a problem that needs to be solved. If the problem appears too big, then you may need to break it down into several small problems. Waterproof, the was president of McDonnell Aircraft Corporation, with the President Kennedy called him and said, we want to put a man to the moon. What was needed in order to make such an impossibility become a reality. He would need to develop a rocket booster big enough to release his spacecraft from gravitation. As an engineer, he learned that a big problem was never one single problem. So the first thing he did was ask himself, where are the different problems that altogether comprise the main problem? He carefully divided the problem into about 20 problems of other problems. He then decided which one he could tackle himself and which ones he would need help with, until he got to the point where there was only one problem left, the spacecraft that could defy gravity and go into orbit. What is it? That's the happy phase. At that point, I can focus all my energies on that one remaining problem, and that I focus everything on one problem. I know it's just a matter of time before we can crack it. Well, of course, the rest is history. They solved the problem. In 1969, Neil Armstrong became the first man to walk on the moon. It might be possible, but I can raise some more money. Money is not the answer to all problems, but it is surprising how many problems are caused by lack of funds. Too many dreams are killed simply because of financial reports, and too many lives are ruined by bankruptcy. So if you are tempted to give up and quit, ask yourself, would it be possible if I had enough money? What could I do if funds were not an issue? It's amazing how someone in the possibility-thinking fashion can always come along and raise money when it is considered by experts to be out of the question. Sybil Brand is one of the most remarkable woman in Los Angeles County. Her effects are filled with awards. She is over 80 years old and considered one of the leading volunteers in America. She was served the fundraising charities, chairman of the biggest fundraisers in California.